Hello and welcome to this special holiday edition of the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. Today is Memorial Day, and in observance of that and to honor the American men and women who have died while serving the country, tonight's episode features a conversation with a local veteran who has served in combat and who has also lost fellow soldiers on the battlefield. Jim Graham is a retired Army National Guard Lieutenant Colonel whose deployments include 12 months in Iraq and 6 months in Bosnia. I first asked him to provide an overview of his service.
Well, I got involved with it back in 1979 at an issue through ROTC. I had a lot of friends who were going through ROTC, and I thought I'd give it a shot. And I stuck with it. I got my commission in May of 1981. Got commissioned as a second lieutenant, and I was as an infantry officer. I was assigned to the 136 battalion. My first unit was the Delta Company out of Detroit Lakes, where I was a scout platoon leader. Then through the years, I've moved from Detroit Lakes to Fergus Falls, to Moorhead, back to Fergus Falls, to Camp Ripley, to the division headquarters in Rosemont, Minnesota. Then towards the end of my career, I switched to the Army Reserves, and then I went down to Fort Snelling for the last 4 years of my career. Was serving at Fort Snelling down in Minneapolis.
Jim, when you look back on your service, your tours of duty, your time overseas, and everything associated with that, what comes to heart, what comes to mind?
I think the ability to get to know the locals, both in Bosnia and in Iraq. You see their living conditions, and then you look back what we have back in the States, and it's so different. Sarajevo, I spent 3 months in Sarajevo at NATO headquarters. I had the ability to go leave Camp Bootmere by myself in uniform or in civilian clothes. I traveled Sarajevo. I traveled countryside of Bosnia. And to see the destruction from the war from the 90s, it's really heart-taking that they lived through conflicts, and here in the United States, we have never experienced that. And then when I was in Iraq in 2007, the same thing. You see the destruction, and you see the people that I knew of a person who was trying to pick up the trash around a bridge, which we called the Racetrack Road, and it was about 200 yards from my Iraqi checkpoint. And the guy was killed because he was picking up trash. And then we had heard stories of contractors who were trying to pick up trash from the city streets, and they were being shot at. And you just sit back and think that, the way these people live in turmoil, and then you sit back with what we have back home, and even though we have some discourse here, it's not to the extent that they have to put up with. And you always sit back and think, we're so lucky to be here in the United States to have such luxury that we have. We don't have to worry about conflicts like what's happening in Ukraine. I mean, Russia's totally destroying the country. And it's a shame that they do that.
As we observe Memorial Day, I'm sure it holds special significance for you and so many other Americans as we remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. What comes to mind for you?
When I was in Iraq, there is some individuals who I had acquaintances with that were killed. I was part of a transition team, and we sent 26 teams over. We had 2 individuals from one of our teams that got killed by an IED. We were attached to 1-5 Cav, and on March 19th, one of their vehicles got hit by a deep buried IED. It's flipped Bradley over about 35 tons, and all 6 occupants were killed. Then during the troop surge, 164 Armor came on board to take over part of the territory from 1-5 Cav and became my battle commander. And about the second weekend of the country, Major Berkshire was killed. His whole vehicle got killed in about the same vicinity in El Jaima that I got hit with an IED. And then you sit back about these individuals whose lives were lost at a young age or at very a short time period in country. Then you make it through and you get hit with an ID and you survive, and these other people, they lose a life from it. And you just kind of sit back and wonder, why did I make it when these other people were killed? And so you sit back and kind of reflect on the people that you know who were killed. And you may not know them very well, but it's individuals that you knew, acquaintances that you knew that were killed. So it's about about 13 individuals who I had acquaintances with that were killed during my year in Iraq.
Memorial Day for many Americans is observed as the unofficial start of summer, with lots of people using the day to get together with friends and family, maybe have a picnic or enjoy a favorite pastime. What are your thoughts with regard to how the holiday is spent now by the average American? And do you think many people are not properly taking the time to honor those who've lost their lives while serving the country?
There's one thing I'll make a comment about. One of our presentations went out to the 3 affiliate tribes in Newtown. And the way that the Native Americans treat their veterans is unbelievable. And it's a point that's the way that we, the Caucasians back in the 60s and 70s, that's where we treated the veterans back then. And now it's kind of fallen off to the wayside. I give the Native Americans a lot of credit because they still treat their veterans in high regards. And I kind of wish that you feel jealous of the way that Native Americans treat their veterans. And sometimes you kind of wish that we would come and do the same for our veterans. Everybody's gone their own separate ways. The service organizations, the AMBITs, American Legion, VFWs, we all have a tough time getting members. Everybody's so busy with their lives that I wish we could do what the Native Americans do and honor their veterans on a daily basis, monthly basis. They do a very good job of honoring their veterans. And that's something that I wish people could see, and we could do the same for ours.
Specifically, what are your thoughts with regard to how the average American approaches or observes Memorial Day nowadays?
We still do the Saturday or the Memorial Day services at the Holy Spirit. My dad he was a Navy veteran. That's where he's buried at. So we always do the 8 o'clock service at Holy Spirit. Then we spend time at the cemetery with, we're on my dad's gravesite. We talk about, my 2 uncles both served during the Korean conflict. And so we have some history with my uncles that had served. And we talk about the family, my 2 uncles, my dad, their previous service, how we miss them. And we just try and keep them on our thoughts during the day, on Memorial Day, thinking about them constantly, what their services were like when they served. There's a lot of questions I wish I would have asked them before they all passed away. There's a lot of questions that I wish I had answers for that I'll never have. And so you just sit back and you think about what was there and what you're missing. And what you miss is a lot.
I'd like to thank retired Army National Guard Lieutenant Colonel Jim Growlam for joining me for tonight's one-on-one conversation, sharing his thoughts on the observance of Memorial Day, and for talking about his experience while serving the country, and for remembering those that he knew who lost their lives while serving. May God bless all families and individuals who have lost loved ones while serving in the United States military. Well, that will do it for this Memorial Day, Monday, May 30th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review.